Examples from Sharia law. This is Abn Alhuriya, son of freedom. What is Sharia law? Now I'm going to let you pause each slide and read the body, so I'll make a little space in between each slide. Why is Sharia law important? Why this study? But doesn't moderate Islam delete Sharia law? Okay, then what about moderate Muslims? They don't practice all of Sharia law. This brings up an important issue related to moderate Muslims. Would it be possible to reform Islam into one without Sharia law? Here is the doctrine of abrogation. And now here is the relationship of reliance of the traveler to Sharia law. Here is a note on references. So let us begin to look at examples. Here you see a study of which amendments of the Constitution would be wiped out by Sharia law. Sharia law would be the law of the land. Sharia law would wipe out also the U.S. Code, all state laws, state constitutions, and all case law. The U.S. identity as a constitutional republic would be gone. Non-Islamic governments are not allowed under Sharia law. Death penalty for apostasy. Death penalty for adultery. Penalties for sex as an unmarried person. Jihad, that is holy war, is commanded. Death penalty for outright refusal to participate in jihad without a valid excuse. Jihad is mandated until all the world comes under Sharia law. Jihad entails military warfare. Conditions of jihad. Conditions of dhimitude, that is subjugation. Conditions of dhimitude continued. More conditions of dhimitude, that is if you are a subjugated population. More conditions of dhimitude. Death penalty for homosexuality. Suicide is forbidden, but if you kill yourself in battle or as a jihadi strapping a bomb to yourself or something like that, that's perfectly legal. Predestination. There's a strong element of predestination in Islamic theology, and you are taught to accept fate. And this really regulates what you are allowed to ask Allah for. You're not really allowed to ask Allah to do anything for you. It's more about what you're going to do to yourself to change for Him. Men may have up to 4 wives. Men may have an unlimited number of female slaves as war booty and have sex with them. When asked, Muhammad did not require that jihadis use coitus interruptus when having sex with captured women. A Muslim jihadi may rape the wife of a captured enemy in the presence of her husband before he is killed. A man may consummate a marriage to a girl as young as 9 years old. Islam teaches anti-Semitism. More anti-Semitism. Women are required to wear the hijab or burqa. A A Muslim wife is not allowed to leave her town without being accompanied by her husband or unmarriageable kin. Cosmetic regulations on women. A Muslim man may only marry a Muslim, a Christian, or a Jewish woman, but a Muslim woman may only marry a Muslim man. Sex in marriage is under the man's control entirely. Husband has the final word and can enforce his decision by corporal punishment or force. If a woman accuses a man of rape and cannot produce 4 men as witnesses or equivalent, then she is guilty of adultery and can be stoned. Penalties for idolatry. And what is idolatry? This is about honor killings. Basically, if a daughter doesn't want to go along with the program, she can be killed by her male relatives, and it's perfectly legal in Sharia. A Muslim brother inherits twice the share of his sister. Female genital mutilation is obligatory. It's called circumcision in Sharia. There are regulations on how to go to the bathroom. There are regulations in when you are praying and facing the Qibla, the direction of prayer. There are regulations having to do with your obligatory giving to the Ummah. There are regulations governing your pilgrimage to Mecca once in your lifetime. On the subject of marriage, a woman does not choose her own husband. Her husband is chosen generally by her father or grandfather. The testimony of a Muslim man is worth twice that of a Muslim woman. Alcohol consumption is prohibited. Pictures of living creatures are prohibited. Anything that portrays the creative act of Allah is prohibited. And this is because once upon a time Muhammad said, "I don't like this," when Aisha showed him something that had the picture of a living creature on it. So it became a revelation. Art is essentially prohibited. Music is basically prohibited. The only musical instrument really that is allowed is a tambourine with bells attached to it at a wedding. That's about as far as it goes. Television is prohibited. Okay, Islamic blasphemy laws. If you say anything about the Prophet that could be construed as false, even if you didn't intend to say something false, maybe you had a misunderstanding, you can be accused of blasphemy and executed. On the law of slander, if you say anything that offends another Muslim, it doesn't have to be untrue. As long as it offends another Muslim, you can be accused of and convicted of slander. So this creates a kind of a fearful environment where you're afraid to say anything. And so it really enforces conformity. Taqiyya, that is deception, is permitted, and especially in civilization jihad or political warfare, it's really encouraged actually. And a lot of the what you see as the moderate face of these Muslim Brotherhood front groups in the United States, that is really just taqiyya in action, and most Americans cannot recognize that. They don't understand that this is all deception. And by the way, I should say that there's no such thing as there's a truce, but there's no such thing as an agreement between parties on a permanent settlement or a permanent peace. All truces are temporary, and the Muslim has the option to break the truce at any time, because that's what Muhammad did. No death penalty for a Muslim killing a non-Muslim. Amputations for theft. All Jews must be killed before the eschaton. The judgment is ushered in. That is the end of history. Judaism and Christianity are abrogated. In Islamic theology, Christianity and Judaism are interpreted as Abrahamic religions that went awry. And Islam claims that it names several canonical texts from the era of Judaism and Christianity, but it claims that those texts were lost. So this is an unverifiable claim on the part of Muslims. All doctors and hospitals must be Sharia compliant. There is no equal protection under the law. If a woman is raped, she is guilty of tempting the man, and so she gets 100 lashes. A Muslim man can divorce his wife without her consent by merely pronouncing it, but the wife must have the husband's consent. A Muslim wife may obtain a divorce by persuading the husband to divorce her for payment. The wife must pay the husband. Divorce in Islam, here are some more regulations. Most occupants of hell will be women. A man's prayer is annulled if a dog, a donkey, or a woman walks between the man and the Qibla. Authority to interpret the Quran. There is no such thing as a private interpretation. Essentially, you're in danger if you try to do any kind of interpretation of the Quran on your own. It's only something that an imam or a sheikh should do. Doing philosophical theology is prohibited. Speculative theology or philosophy of religion, those are all prohibited. The only thing that's possible in Sharia law is either doing analyzing scientific methodology or logic. Those are the only two categories of philosophy that are allowed. There are categories of offensive conversation. You are not allowed to stay silent all day like a monk. Smoking is prohibited. Buying and selling insurance is unlawful. So here are some questions for you. Number one, can you see any indications that these regulations are time-bound and culture-bound? That is, do they appear to be revelation, or upon reading them, do they seem to be culture-bound? Two, would you want to live under these regulations? Three, did you know that it is a duty of all Muslims to install these laws in your country as the law of the land? Now let's say you go up to a Muslim and you say, about Sharia law, is it your intent to install Sharia law as the law of the land? In many cases, you're going to get taqiyya. They're going to try to hem and haw about it, and you may not get a straight answer. If you're an Anjem Chowdhury type, then you'll come out and say, yes, that is the intent, but don't expect to get a straight answer. Number four, what are you going to do about that? So I'm hoping that in seeing this slideshow, you're going to be motivated now to find your niche in resisting civilization jihad. This was Examples from Sharia Law. I am Abn Alhuriya, son of freedom. Thank you for listening.